I'm Kurt Top, and these are the 100 most terrifying discoveries that will surprise you. Skeleton Lake. At the bottom of Rupkund Lake in the Indian Himalayas, hundreds of human skeletons have been discovered, which gave it the name Skeleton Lake. The age of these remains varies greatly, and it is still not exactly known how all these people died. It was previously assumed that they might have been victims of a single catastrophe, such as a powerful storm that took the lives of a large group of people. Recent studies have only made the mystery more complicated. Scientists conducted DNA analysis of 38 discovered bodies. They found the remains were from people of different eras, separated by thousands of years. These people arrived at the lake at different periods of time, which disproved the theory of the mass death of a single group. The research began 10 years ago, when geneticist Kumarasamy Tangaraj from the Indian Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology sequenced the mitochondrial DNA of 72 skeletons. Some were of Indian origin, but some of the remains belonged to people with DNA characteristic of Western Europeans, particularly from Crete and Greece. Interestingly, the time range of these findings also turned out to be diverse. Most of the bones date back to the 7th to 10th centuries AD, but among them are also remains from the 19th and 20th centuries. The causes of death of these people remain unknown, which adds mystery to this place. A chest of gold in concrete? During the renovations at one of the villas in Vienna, workers discovered an incredible treasure under the concrete floor of the basement. They found a chest with 30 kilograms of Mozart gold coins. Their value is estimated at 2.3 million euros. A construction worker first noticed the mysterious shoelace sticking out of the concrete, but chose not to touch it. Later, a plumber arrived at the site who became interested in the find and dug up a metal box. Now, according to Austrian law, he is entitled to a third of the treasure, or possibly half, since the rest will go to the owner of the house. It is believed that the gold was hidden in the concrete before World War II. For the plumber, this turned out to be real luck, but for the builder who missed the chance, it was clearly unfortunate. Shamans are predicting a catastrophe. In Mexico, one of the ancient pyramids used by ancient tribes for human sacrifices collapsed, raising concerns about an impending catastrophe. The descendants of the tribe that built the pyramid fear that the collapse could be a harbinger of a major disaster caused by natural forces or some other phenomenon. In the photos from the scene, it is clear that part of the structure collapsed after a recent heavy rain. The downpour washed away one side of the pyramid. These pyramids were built by the ancestors of the modern Purépecha, a warlike people who once managed to defeat the Aztecs. Historians claim that the Yucata pyramids were used by the Purépecha tribe for ritual sacrifices to their chief god, Curicaweri. Anthropologist Taraquiri Alvarez stated that the collapse of the pyramid is a bad omen. Local shamans believe that even Alvarez's knees fall from a stone was a bad omen, and the collapse of an entire wall means an inevitable disaster. A similar phenomenon was observed before the arrival of the conquistadors. The composition of the ritual cocktail. For the first time, scientists were able to study organic remains inside an ancient vessel that is 2,000 years old. The study showed that the ancient Egyptians consumed a special ritual cocktail that included fruits, nuts, alcohol, biological fluids, and psychoactive substances. The vessel, known as the Demon's Mug, was studied using innovative technology developed by scientists from the University of South Florida in collaboration with colleagues from Italy. This is the first time that the complete chemical composition of a ritual drink has been identified, including its psychoactive and medicinal components. The Bez mugs were dedicated to the Egyptian god of the same name, the patron of fertility, healing, and protection. He was depicted with a crown of feathers, large eyes, and a tail. Such vessels were used from the 16th century BC to the 5th century AD, and the specimen under study dates back to the Ptolemaic period. The analysis revealed traces of honey, grapes, sesame, pine nuts, licorice, and hallucinogenic components. Scientists suggest that the mixture was used in magical rituals. People wanted confirmation of a successful pregnancy because it was once seen as dangerous and unpredictable. Such a cocktail likely caused visions, helping establish a connection or insight with a deity. They tried to treat cancer. The study of two ancient skulls yielded surprising results. Signs of cancer and traces of attempts to treat it were found on them. These findings show that ancient Egyptians knew about cancer and tried to fight it. The signs of this disease included severe tissue destruction and small metastases. Especially interesting are the traces of cuts around the lesions, indicating that the Egyptians may have tried to remove tumors surgically. But the ancient Egyptians were famous for their medical knowledge. They knew how to treat fractures, care for injuries, make prosthetics, and even put fillings in teeth. However, their abilities in treating cancer were limited. Scientists studied two skulls from the Duckworth collection at the University of Cambridge. One skull belonged to a man aged 30 to 35, with signs of cancer and surgical interventions. The other skull belonged to a woman over 50 years old, with cancerous lesions and signs of healed injuries. The researchers emphasized that studying ancient remains comes with difficulties. Incomplete skeletons and the lack of clinical history make conclusions challenging. Nevertheless, these findings offer a new perspective on ancient medical practices and highlight the need for further research in paleoncology. Uterus made of fabric. This unusual artifact, created by the French midwife Angélique Marguerite Le Boursier du Coudray, is considered one of the world's first mannequins for teaching obstetrics. In the 18th century, King Louis XV assigned her the task of reducing the infant mortality rate, which was critically high at that time. Angélique enthusiastically took on the work, traveled around France giving lectures, and developed a unique approach to teaching. The mannequin, which she called the maternal machine, was made life-size from fabric and other available materials. It included a uterus, placenta, umbilical cord, and a baby model, which allowed for practicing all stages of childbirth. The visual and practical aspect of her lessons gave midwives of that time skills they could immediately apply in practice. In addition, du Coudray wrote a textbook on obstetrics, which became a reference book for many generations of midwives. Her methods and approaches became a revolution in 18th century medicine, and she herself left behind a legacy that saved thousands of lives. The mannequin you see is not just an artifact, but a symbol of science, aimed at preserving life and a unique monument in the history of medicine. Discovery: Swabian. Research in the caves of the Danube Valley in southern Germany shows that Stone Age people were not just cave-dwelling savages. Findings made in the Swabian Alps show the remarkable artistic abilities our ancestors had about 45,000 years ago. The Swabian Alps may be the cradle of modern Europeans. This is evidenced by the figurines made from mammoth tusks found here, which are up to 40,000 years old. A recent discovery in the karst cave Hohlefels, located near Blaubeuren, confirms this assumption. During the excavation, a student from the publication found an animal figurine about 6 centimeters long. Although its head is missing, scientists believe it is an image of an otter. Archaeologists have called this artifact the find of the year. About 45,000 years ago, Homo sapiens arrived in the Danube region, living alongside Neanderthals. It was previously believed that modern humans were more actively settling in the territory of present-day France, as evidenced by the discoveries of cave paintings. However, the figurines from the Swabian Jura change our understanding of the settlement and life of ancient people in Europe. The caves of the Swabian Jura have been studied since the mid-19th century. The findings include stone and bone tools, as well as ornaments, which provide important information about the lives of Neanderthals and other early representatives of humanity. In the mid-20th century, the Nazi organization Ahnenerbe also conducted excavations here, seeking to find evidence of the existence of ancient Aryans. In recent years, excavations in the caves have resumed, and new discoveries have been made, including a figurine of a woman known as the Venus of Hohlefels. This image, with its ample breasts and pronounced feminine features, likely symbolized fertility. Other finds, such as ancient flutes made from bird bones, testify to the high level of spirituality and art among our ancestors. A chilling puzzle. Researchers have discovered that in prehistoric times, people in different parts of the world deliberately amputated fingers as part of religious rituals. This follows from the analysis of cave art dating back 25,000 years in Spain and France, which shows handprints with missing fingers. Previously, it was assumed that such defects could have been the result of medical issues or creative vision. However, according to a group of scientists, these people may have deliberately cut off their own fingers, seeking supernatural assistance. Interestingly, such rituals were common in various cultures and on all continents. For example, the Dani people in New Guinea still practice similar rituals, amputating women's fingers after the death of loved ones. This supports the hypothesis that similar rituals existed in the Paleolithic era. Handprints with missing fingers have been found not only in Europe, but also in Africa, Australia, North and South America, and South and Southeast Asia, which indicates the widespread nature of this practice. The lost text of the Bible. In Turkey, archaeologists discovered a unique 5th century amulet depicting King Solomon defeating the devil. An ancient Greek inscription reading, "Our Lord has defeated the devil," is engraved on the 1,600-year-old bronze pendant. This artifact may be connected to a lost text of the Bible that speaks about Solomon's magical power. Sources claim that during the first 5 centuries, there was a text called the Testament of Solomon that was not included in the canon. In this text, Archangel Michael gives Solomon a magical ring that allows him to control demons. The discovered amulet confirms that Solomon was seen not only as a wise king, but also as a fighter against evil. The artifact was discovered among the ruins of an ancient military structure in Adrianople, in modern-day Edirne. The amulet likely belonged to a soldier who believed in Solomon's magical protection. On the reverse side of the pendant, the names of the archangels are engraved: Azrael, Israfil, Gabriel, and Michael. This symbolizes protection from evil, combining traditions from different religions. Azrael is known as the angel of death in Judaism and Islam. Israfil is the herald of the end of the world, blowing the trumpet on Judgment Day. Gabriel and Michael are widely regarded in Christianity, the first as God's messenger, the second as a spiritual warrior. All these names enhance the protective meaning of the amulet. The amulet with Solomon is not just a historical artifact. It demonstrates how legends and religious traditions intertwine across different eras. The figure of Solomon unites 3 world religions, remaining a symbol of wisdom and strength. Ancient graffiti in the Scariest fortress are unique inscriptions found on the walls of the ancient Scariest fortress, located on top of a monolithic rock in central Sri Lanka. These graffiti represent one of the most important collections of ancient inscriptions on the island, dating approximately from the 5th to the 8th centuries AD. They were left by visitors to the fortress, including poets, pilgrims, and travelers, on the mirror walls, surfaces polished to a shine that once adorned the inner halls and corridors of the palace. The Scariest graffiti consist of poetic lines, comments, and personal impressions written in the Sinhalese language using ancient forms of script. Despite their historical value, the interpretation of the Scariest graffiti is a subject of debate among historians. Questions about who exactly left these inscriptions, their social status, motives, and purposes remain unanswered. Some researchers think upper-class visitors to the palace created the graffiti. Others suggest that they might have belonged to pilgrims and merchants, indicating that the fortress was accessible to the general public. Soap. This is one of the oldest hygiene products. Archaeologists found the first mention of soap on clay tablets from Mesopotamia, which are about 3,500 years old. However, many scientists believe that soap was used even earlier. In ancient Egypt, papyri found in the possessions of pharaohs contain mentions that rulers washed themselves using soap. At that time, soap was made from a mixture of fats and ash, which, when reacting chemically, formed a soapy solution. This ancient product was important not only for hygiene, but also for treating skin diseases. Over time, soap recipes improved, and by ancient Rome, soap had become more widespread. Thus, the history of soap spans thousands of years, and it has always played a key role in maintaining cleanliness and health. The Voynich manuscript is one of the most mysterious manuscripts in history. It is an illustrated codex written in an unknown language or code that has not yet been deciphered. According to the results of carbon dating of the parchment, its creation dates back to the period between 1404 and 1438. Despite research, its origin, authorship, and purpose remain unknown, which gives rise to many theories and speculations. The manuscript is named after the Polish antiquarian Wilfrid Voynich, who acquired it in 1912. It consists of more than 240 pages, with mysterious texts and illustrations that depict bizarre plants, astronomical diagrams, strange people, and unknown chemical processes. The unique language of the manuscript has no analogs, and the script and structure of the text have led to numerous hypotheses. Some scholars suggest that it may be an encoded message created using complex cryptography, while others believe that the manuscript represents a description of a natural or artificial language. There is a theory that the manuscript could have been a hoax, created to confuse scholars and seekers of ancient knowledge. Other theories suggest that it is a scientific or medical reference book, possibly dedicated to alchemy or botany. Some even believe that the Voynich manuscript is a work of speculative fiction or mythopoesis, which is still waiting for someone to decipher it. A ring with a hologram. This unusual Roman ring, found in the tomb of the noblewoman Ibutia and Cavarta, dates back to the 1st century AD. Its unique feature is the hologram effect, created by a masterfully engraved portrait, presumably of her son, Titus Corvilius Gemellus. Titus, according to historical records, died at the age of 18, and the ring likely served as a tribute and a symbol of the mother's grief. The ring is made of gold, and the stone set in the bezel is perfectly polished and contains a miniature image. This portrait is unusual for that time. The facial details look so realistic that they create the impression of a three-dimensional image, as if someone is looking out from the depths of the stone. Such a technique was incredibly complex, which indicates the highest level of skill among ancient Roman jewelers. But the ring also raises mystical questions. Some believe that its owner might have used it as an amulet, connecting her with the spirit of her son, possibly to seek advice or protection. The mystery of the artifact is heightened by the fact that very few similar engravings with such an effect have been found, and it is still unclear how such a striking optical illusion was achieved. During an expedition in Siberia, an incredible discovery was made: an ancient wolf from the permafrost. The ancient wolf, astonishingly well preserved in the permafrost, was found at a depth of about 40 meters near the Terektiak River in the Abiski district of Yakutia. The wolf's carcass was transferred to the Mammoth Museum in Yakutsk for further research. The condition of the wolf amazed scientists. After 44,000 years, its fur, bones, organs, and even its fearsome teeth have been preserved. Experts call this discovery unprecedented, as it is the oldest known wolf to have undergone an autopsy. They hope that studying the stomach and other organs will shed light on the wolf's diet and environment. The stomach remained isolated without contamination, which will allow for an instant snapshot of the biota from the ancient Pleistocene period. Studying its contents can reveal not only what the wolf ate, but also its prey. By the wear on the teeth and the development of the sagittal crest, it has already been determined that this is an adult male. The study of ancient bacteria can help in the development of new medicines and biotechnological products, which highlights the great significance of this discovery for the future. This discovery not only unveils the secrets of the ancient world, but also opens new horizons for science and medicine. An old-time capsule Jane Eastman, an experienced treasure hunter, recently made an unusual discovery at the bottom of the Wanglia River. She found a Victorian-era glass bottle filled with pickles. Jane showed this amazing treasure to her followers on Instagram, where her discovery sparked a lively discussion. The bottle, made of green glass, was preserved in excellent condition, and its lid, with the inscription WND Harvest, Dowgate Dog, London, prompted Jane to research its history. She found out that the WND Harvest Company had been selling spices and pickles in London since the 1870s, and the bottle she found most likely dates back to the period between the 1890s and 1910s. According to Jane, the bottle turned out to be completely airtight, which is why the pickles were preserved. The woman called it a real-time capsule and decided not to open the find in order to preserve it in its original state. To do this, she sealed the lid with wax. Long pickling jars were popular in the Victorian era because of their practicality. The only thing that is still unclear is whether the pickles have remained edible. the oldest Christian church. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of an Armenian church that is almost 2,000 years old, making it one of the oldest in the world and the oldest in Armenia. The University of Münster in Germany, which collaborated with the Armenian Academy of Sciences during the excavation, called this discovery sensational evidence of early Christianity in Armenia. The church was found during excavations in Artashat, which was once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the ancient Armenian kingdom. Experts believe that the church was built in the 4th century AD at the same time as the Echmiadzin Cathedral, the first Armenian church which is considered the oldest in the world. The discovered building is the oldest archaeologically confirmed temple on the territory of Armenia. It is the first known octagonal church in Armenia. Similar structures are found on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea and are also dated to the 4th century. The church resembled early Christian memorial buildings. Its diameter was about 30 meters. The floor was made of a mixture of sand and cement, and the walls were made of terracotta, probably brought from Greece or Italy. Scientists also discovered traces of wooden platforms, which made it possible to accurately date the structure using radiocarbon analysis. Scientists brewed an ancient drink. Israeli researchers decided to dive into the world of experimental archaeology and create a beverage that our ancestors used to drink. It all started with the discovery of yeast remnants in ancient clay shards during excavations in Israel. These samples dating back to 3000 BC were found in various locations, including Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and an Egyptian brewery near the Gaza Strip. Archaeologists and many microbiologists joined forces to study and revive the ancient yeast. The researchers were able to bring yeast colonies back to life and use them to create an ancient beverage that tastes similar to the beer that the Philistines and Egyptians used to drink. For the experiment, the scientists used recipes for ancient beverages, creating beer and mead. During the brewing process, some modern changes were made, such as adding hops, which did not exist in the ancient Middle East. This made it possible to create a beverage with a unique taste, combining ancient traditions and modern technologies. According to Shmuel Naki, a brewer from the Jerusalem Brewing Center, the taste of the beverage turned out to be spicy, a bit fruity, and very complex. Yeast played a key role in creating these flavor characteristics, which confirms the importance of its use in brewing. The success of this experiment inspired scientists and brewers to continue their research. The team plans to use the revived yeast to create new types of beer based on ancient recipes. This collaboration will not only expand the range of Israeli beer, but also provide a deeper understanding of the culture and traditions of ancient peoples. Would you like to try a drink made with ancient yeast? Could you immerse yourself so deeply in the history of brewing? The Spanish Stonehenge. This amazing megalithic monument known as the Spanish Stonehenge is located on the banks of the Tagus River in Spain. Its age is estimated at about 7,000 years, which makes it 2,000 years older than the famous Stonehenge in England and older than the Egyptian pyramids. The complex consists of more than 100 upright granite stones, forming a circle and ellipses. Officially, this site is called the Guadalperal Dolmen, and its purpose still remains a mystery. Scientists suggest that it could have served as a place for rituals, a temple, or possibly even an astronomical observatory. The stones are arranged in such a way that their orientation is connected to the position of the sun during certain times of the year. This confirms that the ancient builders had deep knowledge of astronomy. For a long time, the dolmen was underwater due to the construction of a dam in 1963, and only a recent drought allowed archaeologists and researchers to take another look at this amazing site. What inspired ancient people to create such a grand structure? Antikythera mechanism? It is impossible not to mention the most unique archaeological discovery, which many consider to be the first known analog computer, the Antikythera mechanism. This complex device was created to predict astronomical events, such as the positions of planets and solar eclipses, and it could track cycles, including the 4-year period of the Olympic Games. It also allowed for precise calculation of lunar phases and solar years. Its functionality and complexity are astonishing, considering that it was created more than 2,000 years ago. Between 150 and 100 BCE, the Antikythera mechanism was discovered in 1901 among the wreckage of an ancient ship that sank near the Greek island of Antikythera. Its discovery was a real sensation since the mechanism consists of numerous bronze gears and wheels, making it incredibly complex for its time. The largest gear in the device has a diameter of about 13 centimeters, and the overall construction indicates a high level of skill among ancient engineers. Scientists are still studying this artifact using modern technologies such as X-ray imaging and 3D scanning to uncover all its functions. The Antikythera mechanism is considered evidence that the ancient Greeks possessed knowledge and technologies that were lost for many centuries afterward. Mummified teenage mother. Archaeologists have re-examined the mummified remains of a young mother who died in childbirth more than 1,500 years ago and discovered shocking details. 2 fetuses were found in the pelvic area and in the chest. This discovery is both astonishing and horrifying. The ancient teenage girl who died during childbirth in ancient Egypt was found in the Karga Oasis at the El Bagawat Cemetery in 1908. The body was treated with salt, which is consistent with the ancient Egyptian practice of mummification. At first, archaeologists assumed that the girl died from complications during childbirth. However, a CT scan revealed a second fetus in the chest cavity, indicating a twin pregnancy. It was especially disturbing to discover that one of the fetuses was missing its head. Research revealed that the baby's head was stuck in the mother's pelvis, which led to its decapitation during childbirth. This is the first known case in Egypt. It is assumed that the embalmers might not have known about the twins and forgot to remove the second fetus. This research highlights the dangers of pregnancy and childbirth in that era. The ancient Egyptians treated childbirth with deep respect, as can be seen from spells against twin pregnancies. Mysterious objects that are 130,000 years old. Archaeological discoveries in Russia and the Ratibors area in Poland have shed light on the activities of Neanderthals more than 130,000 years ago. For 2 years, an international team of specialists, including from the University of Wrocław, the University of Silesia, and the Czech Academy of Sciences, conducted research planning to study the geological structure of the area. Professor Andrzej Wiśniewski noted that the discovery of stone tools was an unexpected gift. Artifacts found 10 meters underground, which were in deposits formed during the last ice age, show that this area was visited by Neanderthals, who left traces of their presence here. Archaeologists emphasize the uniqueness of some tools that have double-sided asymmetrical cutting edges, resembling modern wide-bladed knives. These tools were possibly used for special tasks, such as butchering game, and similar items are rarely found at other ancient sites north of the Carpathians and the Alps. A 2,000-year-old fig. Irish archaeologists made an unexpected discovery, finding charred remains of a 2,000-year-old fig at Drumanay Promontory north of Dublin. This find became important evidence that the Roman Empire, which previously considered Ireland unreachable, still had an influence on its culture. The Drumanay Promontory was a key point of connection between Ireland and England, which was under Roman rule. Among the finds made by researchers from University College Dublin, the fig turned out to be the most surprising. The fruit's seeds confirmed that it was brought to the island in an era when such exotic fruits were considered a rarity. Previously, figs had only been found in medieval layers in Ireland, but this specimen is the oldest known. In addition to figs, traces of emmer wheat were found, a grain widely used in Roman Britain but rare in Ireland. These findings show that the Romans not only traded goods, but also brought their way of life. Archaeologist Christian Baker said that people in Ireland at that time enjoyed emmer wheat bread, olive oil, wine, and also used glass and ceramic dishes, brooches, and beads. Figs, first cultivated in eastern Turkey and northern India, made their way to the Mediterranean via ancient trade routes, where they became an important part of the Roman diet. Researchers believe that figs and emmer wheat could have been brought through Roman Chester, a major trading hub in Britain. Uncovering the secrets of mass death. During excavations in the ancient city of Aswan on the Nile, archaeologists discovered tombs dating back to the Greco-Roman period. These burials, found on a hill, contain mummies of children and parents, coffins, papier-mâché masks, amphorae decorated with grape leaf patterns, and offering tables. Ancient oil lamps left by mourners were also found. The necropolis is unique for its terraced layout, 10 levels of tombs are built one above another into the hill, which distinguishes it from the usual 2 or 3-level Egyptian burials. This place was used for about 900 years, from the 6th century BC to the 3rd century AD, when Egypt was ruled by the Persians, the Ptolemaic dynasty, and the Romans. Studies have shown that between 30 and 40 mummies belong to newborns and children under 2 years old. With the help of X-rays, CT scans, and DNA analysis, archaeologists and doctors at the University Hospital in Aswan found that the main causes of death were anemia and infectious diseases, even among wealthy people. The study of the spine in the mummy confirmed the presence of tuberculosis, which could wipe out entire families. Same-sex love in Pompeii. 2,000 years ago, when the eruption of Vesuvius destroyed the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, 2 victims of the disaster clung to each other in their final moments. They became known as the 2 maidens, believed to be mother and daughter or sisters. However, new DNA research has changed the perception of their story. Scientists from the Max Planck Institute conducted an analysis of the remains preserved in plaster casts. They showed that both of the deceased were men, and their posture could indicate a very close relationship. Now, experts suggest that the pair may have been same-sex lovers. CT scan data and DNA analysis confirmed that the deceased were not related. The man, identified as individual 22, was over 20 years old, while his companion, individual 21, was between 14 and 19 years old. I don't think it's entirely correct to conclude that there was a homosexual relationship between the 2 men just based on their position at the time of death during the volcanic eruption. But modern scientists can also be quite surprising with their reasoning. My goal was simply to talk about this so-called discovery. It's up to each person to believe the scientists or not. The first vending machine. The city of Alexandria in Egypt was a true jewel of the Hellenistic era, a center of science, culture, and innovation. The Mouseion, the first scholarly institution and university prototype, and the famous Library of Alexandria, which preserved ancient world knowledge, were both located there. In this city, in the 1st century AD, the outstanding scientist and inventor Heron of Alexandria lived and worked. His contribution to science and technology was truly immense. He worked in mathematics, optics, hydrostatics, and also created prototypes of inventions such as the theodolite, odometer, and even a steam turbine powered by jet propulsion. However, one of his inventions is especially interesting in the context of modern life. Heron created the world's first vending machine. This remarkable device stood at the temple entrance, dispensing holy water for drinking and washing hands. The operating principle was simple. A temple visitor would drop a 5 drachma coin, and the machine would dispense a certain amount of water. The device was triggered by the weight of the coin, which moved a lever that opened the valve. It might seem that such a simple system could be easily tricked by throwing something other than a coin. However, modern researchers and engineers claim that the machine could be adjusted for a specific weight and size of the coin, which made attempts at cheating practically useless. This mechanism, despite its simplicity, was a brilliant invention for its time and demonstrated how progressive the ideas of Heron of Alexandria were. Ancient stone circles in Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists in Saudi Arabia have excavated 8 ancient stone circles that served as dwellings for people more than 7,000 years ago. About 345 such structures have been identified using aerial photography in the lava field of Harad Uwairid, near the city of Al-Ula in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. The stone circles have a diameter ranging from 4 to 8 meters and include at least one standing stone in the center. During the excavations, archaeologists discovered numerous stone tools made of basalt. From just 5 circles, almost 225 kilograms of stone tools or their fragments were recovered. Bones of sheep, goats, and cows were also found. Among the finds were various seashells from the Red Sea, located about 120 kilometers to the west. The round shape of houses was a global phenomenon in early architecture, and rectangular houses appeared later in the Neolithic period. The architecture of standing stone circles in Saudi Arabia is similar to structures found in Jordan, which date to about 500 years earlier. The people who built these structures also raised sheep, goats, and cattle. A mongoose statue from ancient Egypt. The mongoose artifact is not only a fascinating find, but also one of mystical significance. In ancient Egyptian mythology, the mongoose was associated with the divine forces of light and protection. In Heliopolis, the center of the sun god Ra's cult, the mongoose symbolized the victory of light over darkness. According to myths, the god Ra, taking the form of a mongoose, fought Apophis, the serpent of chaos who threatened the solar bark. This bronze statue with a solar disk on its head symbolizes solar energy and death. Such artifacts were often placed in temples or used in rituals for protection against evil. Interestingly, some researchers suggest that the mongoose, with its ability to hunt snakes, also symbolized the skill to overcome difficulties and defeat enemies, both spiritual and physical. Many similar figurines have been found in tombs, where they likely served as amulets to help the souls of the deceased overcome dangers in the afterlife. Mongooses, which became part of sacred Egyptian symbolism, remain a reminder of the deep connections between nature, religion, and the spiritual philosophy of this ancient city. Stone Age bag. Around 2500 BC, a Neolithic resident in what is now Germany found a unique way to decorate his bag. During excavations near Leipzig in 2012, archaeologists discovered more than 100 dog teeth carefully arranged in a grave, which led them to believe that they decorated the flap of a bag. Archaeologists noted that over time, the leather or fabric of the bag disappeared, leaving only the teeth, all pointing in one direction. These teeth most likely decorated the outside of the bag. They are all arranged in the same way, resembling a modern flap. These finds were made at the Profin quarry. Other important artifacts were also found in the same area, including the burial of a woman who lived around 1950 BC, buried with half a kilogram of gold jewelry. However, even among such rich finds, the bag with dog teeth became a real discovery. This is the first time archaeologists have found direct evidence of such an accessory. Decorating this bag required teeth from a dozen dogs. In other burials from that time, archaeologists also found wolf and dog teeth, as well as shells which apparently were used to decorate blankets and clothing. When the fabric decomposed, only these decorative elements remained. 17th century treasure father and son, Slawomir and Szymon Milewski, amateur archaeologists, made an incredible discovery when they accidentally stumbled upon a cache of rare coins. Their value exceeds $120,000. The treasure was found near the village of Pomykówek in Mazovia, north of Warsaw. The Milewskis were searching for an ancient Roman road, but instead they found 17 silver coins from the 16th and 17th centuries. The coins belonged to two types, thalers and patagons. Thalers are large silver coins that were popular in Europe and are the predecessors of the modern dollar. Patagons were minted in the Spanish Netherlands and were also of significant value. Among the finds, there are coins depicting European rulers. For example, a thaler from 1630 with the portrait of King Sigismund III Vasa of Poland from Sweden. Other coins, such as the thaler from 1623, were minted for only a couple of years and are rare today. The most likely theory about the origin of the treasure is connected to the 13 Years' War. Perhaps a soldier lost his pay, or a merchant hid the money to protect it from robbers. There was an inn nearby where, according to archaeologists, people often buried valuables before visiting. An ancient city in Micronesia. This amazing complex was built on artificial islands, connected by a network of canals, which is why it is often called the Venice of the Pacific Ocean. The complex includes about 100 artificial islets. The islands were created from massive basalt blocks, arranged in such a way as to form walls, platforms, and buildings. Each structure is surrounded by water channels, which makes this place even more mysterious and impressive. The age of Nan Madol is estimated to be about 1,500 years, but some studies suggest that the first structures may have appeared much earlier. Archaeologists believe that the construction of this complex began at the end of the first millennium AD, possibly under the leadership of local rulers, the Sodelur dynasty, who used Nan Madol as a ceremonial and administrative center. The main mystery of Nan Madol lies in how the inhabitants of Pohnpei Island were able to build such a complex and massive city with limited technology and resources. Each basalt block used in the construction weighs from several hundred kilograms to several tons. Transporting and installing such heavy blocks would have required significant effort and knowledge. Basalt was quarried on the other side of the island, which meant it had to be transported through difficult terrain and water. Considering that the ancient builders did not have modern equipment, this achievement seems almost impossible. Some researchers suggest that the stone blocks could have been transported using rafts and ropes. Others point to the possible use of a system of levers and ramps. However, none of these theories fully explains how the ancient Micronesians managed to lay and align these massive structures so precisely. Nan Madol is also surrounded by numerous legends and myths. The locals believe that the city possesses magical properties and that it was built using supernatural powers. Some myths claim that Nan Madol was home to spirits and was used for rituals related to ancestor worship. To this day, this ancient city inspires awe and respect among the people of Panapa, and they avoid visiting Nan Madol after sunset, believing it to be a place inhabited by spirits. Heracleion, once one of the greatest ports of ancient Egypt, disappeared underwater after a devastating earthquake in the 1st century BC. Its existence was long considered a myth until French archaeologist Frank Gaudio discovered the lost city in the early 2000s in Abu Qir Bay, near the modern coast of Egypt. The most remarkable find was a massive black granite slab on which the name of the city and details of its connection to the ancient Egyptian gods were inscribed. Along with the slab, archaeologists found dozens of sunken ships, remarkably well-preserved statues, temples, and numerous artifacts, including jewelry, coins, and personal belongings of the inhabitants. Excavations are ongoing, and each discovered object sheds light on the role of Heracleion as a major center of trade and religious life. The city, submerged in the depths of the sea, remains a reminder of how natural disasters can forever change the course of history. Children's drawings in Pompeii. These findings immerse us in the everyday life of ordinary people on the eve of the disaster. Among the ruins of Pompeii, ancient graffiti depicting fighting gladiators was found. Scientists believe that these doodles provide a better understanding of the mindset of ancient Romans. Charcoal drawings were discovered among the ruins of the courtyard of Casa del Secondo Cenacolo Colonnado, the House of Scalinata, and the second Canecolo Colonnado. Researchers say that the drawings were made by children, probably between 5 and 7 years old. This is confirmed by the fact that a silhouette of a small hand outlined in charcoal was drawn nearby. This confirms that even ancient Roman children attended amphitheaters to watch the bloody spectacles. The graffiti was discovered on one of the corridor walls near the service courtyard, about 1.5 meters above the floor level. The children probably climbed onto scaffolding. The drawings depict 2 gladiators facing each other. Next to them is a scene of a venatio, a hunt, also with 2 fighters armed with long spears. They seem to be about to fight a pair of wild boars. On the right, there is the head of a predatory bird, presumably an eagle. In another room, most likely intended for storing amphorae, another series of drawings appeared on the walls, again not at a very great height. These are 3 small hands outlined in charcoal, 2 scenes of gladiator combat, 2 figures playing with a sword, a boar, and finally a hand-to-hand combat scene where one of the 2 fighters is lying down. The tomb of Philip II of Macedon, discovered in Vergina in northern Greece at the end of the 1970s. The tomb of Philip II of Macedon became one of the most significant archaeological finds in the history of ancient Macedonia. These tombs, located next to the necropolis of the ancient Macedonian capital Aegae, are considered to be the final resting place of Philip II, king of Macedonia and father of the great conqueror, Alexander the Great. The tomb is distinguished by its magnificence and the wealth of buried artifacts. Archaeologists found weapons, armor, gold, and silver items in it, including unique precious ossuaries, vessels for storing cremated remains. One of the ossuaries, decorated with a golden wreath of oak leaves and acorns, contained bones believed to belong to Philip II himself. This discovery not only confirmed ancient descriptions of the grandeur of Macedonian kings, but also became a source of new knowledge about the cultural and burial rituals of the elite of that time. The armor and weapons found next to the remains indicate the important role of warfare in the life of Philip II, who not only strengthened Macedonia but also paved the way for the future conquests of his son, Alexander the Great. The Risen Telamon. This unique atlas from the Temple of Zeus in the ancient city of Agrigento in Sicily is one of the most impressive examples of monumental sculpture from the 5th century BC. The temple, built in the Doric style, was considered one of the largest temples of the ancient world, and its architecture reflected the power of Greek civilization. The telamons, which served as supports, had symbolic significance, representing titanic strength that holds up the sky, or the immense weight of the architectural structure. These giant statues, about 7.5 meters tall, were impressive both in their detail and their size. One of the telamons was restored and placed in its original location, demonstrating the complexity of the engineering and artistic solutions of the ancient masters. But myths and mysteries surround the atlas. Some researchers believe that the images of the Titans could reflect ancient myths about the confrontation between gods and giants, and their position in the temple could symbolize their subjugation. Others believe that such size and shape could have been used as images of extraterrestrial beings, in which the ancient inhabitants believed. This bread has been baked for 43,000 years. In Australia, evidence has been found that the Aborigines baked bread long before the Egyptians, more than 34,000 years ago. The discovery of millstones in New South Wales indicates an ancient tradition of flour production. The Aborigines, known as hunter-gatherers, also practiced agriculture. Women collected seeds from various plants, including local grains from spinifex, sometimes even from ant nests. Flour was ground on millstones, some of which are up to 50,000 years old. The resulting flour was turned into dough and baked into nutritious bread, an important part of the Aboriginal diet. With the arrival of Europeans and the introduction of white flour, traditional bread-making methods almost disappeared. But today, there is a renewed interest in these ancient techniques and in the culinary heritage of Australia's Aboriginal people. The connection between ancient Egypt and the Bible. The Ipuwer Papyrus, also known as the Admonitions of Ipuwer, are an ancient Egyptian text written on papyrus, which is currently kept in the Leiden Museum in the Netherlands. This document dates back to the end of Egypt's Middle Kingdom, around 1800 BC, although the copy of the papyrus may have been created much later. The papyrus is written in the form of a poetic monologue, in which the narrators, Puver, describe the catastrophic disasters that struck Egypt. The text tells of social unrest, natural disasters, mass famine, and the destruction of public order, making it a unique source for understanding ancient Egyptian views on crises and chaos. One of the mysteries of the papyrus and Puver is its possible connection to real historical events. Some researchers believe that the papyrus does not describe specific events, but rather a literary interpretation of general ideas about chaos and social disorder characteristic of Egyptian thought. At the same time, the content of the text has led to hypotheses that it may reflect a real historical upheaval, possibly related to the decline of the Middle Kingdom or other catastrophes. Interest in the papyrus and Puver also arose because of parallels with the biblical plagues of Egypt described in the book of Exodus. Descriptions of blood turning the river red, darkness, and mass death resonate in both texts. Nevertheless, the exact connection between the papyrus and Puver and the biblical events remains disputed, as there is no convincing evidence of a direct historical link. The crucifixion of Christ in a ring. This incredible ring, dated around 1620, is a true masterpiece of miniature art. Under the glass, there is a detailed scene of the crucifixion made from ivory. Every figure, from the Roman soldiers to the spectators present at the execution, is carved with stunning precision. Special attention is drawn to the tiny crosses and the figure on the cross, which emphasizes the drama of the scene. It is believed that the ring was made in France or Spain, countries where religious art was highly developed during this period. It is possible that this piece of jewelry belonged to a high-ranking religious figure or a wealthy aristocrat, for whom it served not only as an ornament, but also as a symbol of faith. Such items were often used as personal relics, reminding their owners of the suffering and sacrifice of Christ. The mystical atmosphere of this artifact is enhanced by the question, how did the craftsman manage to create such a tiny detail without modern tools? It seems as if this ring is the result not only of human skill, but also of inspiration that may have been granted from above. Alien beings or unique humans? In 2017, in a cave near the southern Peruvian city of Nazca, journalist and ufologist Jaime Maussan discovered 6 unusual mummies with elongated skulls and 3 fingers on their hands. He stated that these were alien beings. Among the findings were 4 men, 1 woman, and an infant. Maussan presented the mummies before the Mexican Congress, claiming that they were of extraterrestrial origin. Despite his confidence, experts considered the mummies to be fake. However, recent studies of one of the mummies, designated as Maria M01, have yielded new, unexpected results. Peruvian scientists conducted an analysis of Maria using electron microscopy and radiography. It turned out that Maria has biological similarities to humans. Her bones continue seamlessly beneath the mummified covering, and the elongated skull shows no signs of artificial deformation. The cranial vault demonstrates atypical growth and development, and its volume is 30% larger than that of an average human. Maria is also distinguished by the absence of hair and ears, 3 fingers, with 4 phalanges on her hands and feet, protruding eyes, and prominent jaws. Maria's feet have a unique structure. The heel bone is different from that of a human, which suggests that she walked with a hunched posture. Maria also suffered from arthritis and had a damaged spine. Maria lived during the same period as the Nazca civilization, which may indicate her connection to this culture. Previous DNA studies suggested that the mummies were modified remains of pre-Columbian humans. The new research raises more questions than it answers. Scientists cannot precisely determine the origin of Maria and her unique characteristics. Further research, including genetic testing, is necessary for a complete understanding of these remains. The fact that the ancient planetary mummy has many similarities with a real human makes understanding our past even more complicated. Now it's even harder for us to understand who inhabited our planet hundreds and thousands of years ago. A fragment of a dwelling. This preserved part of a Roman leather tent is an amazing reminder of the daily life of soldiers who guarded Hadrian's Wall in Roman Britain. Built at the beginning of the 2nd century AD, the wall stretched for 117 kilometers, dividing the Roman Empire and the barbarian lands to the north. Fort Vercovicium, part of this defensive system, was an important garrison where Roman soldiers lived and served. The tents were made from dozens of goat skins, carefully sewn together to withstand the harsh conditions of the northern climate of Britain. Each contubernium, a group of 8 soldiers, shared one such tent. It was their home, a place to rest, and a shelter from bad weather. The manufacturing process was so expertly done that the seams and joints provided protection from rain and wind, which was critically important in the constant damp and cold conditions. However, the preserved part of the tent raises questions. How did such a fragile material manage to survive for 2,000 years? Archaeologists suggest that it was preserved by the special conditions of the fort's soil, as well as minimal exposure to oxygen. Mystics, on the other hand, claim that such tents could have been soaked in special solutions, the secret of which has been lost. Perhaps this is a legacy of knowledge that the ancient Romans could have acquired from other, more mysterious civilizations. The stepped pyramid in Spain, the Pyramid of Guimar, is a unique archaeological complex located on the island of Tenerife, one of the Canary Islands belonging to Spain. These pyramid structures, built from basalt stones, attract the attention of researchers and tourists thanks to their mysterious history and unusual architecture. There are a total of 6 pyramids on the territory of the complex, which have a stepped shape and terraced bases, reminiscent of the structures of ancient Mesoamerican civilizations. Some researchers believe that the pyramids were built by the ancient Aboriginal people of the Canary Islands, the Guanches, who used them for ritual and religious purposes. In support of this theory, they point to the similarity of the Guimar pyramids with other ancient structures that were used for worshiping gods and conducting ceremonies. However, there is also an alternative point of view suggesting that the pyramids were built in the 19th century as part of agricultural terraces. A distinctive feature of the Gemar pyramids is their orientation in relation to astronomical events. Studies have shown that the pyramids are constructed in such a way as to be oriented towards the solstice. On the day of the summer solstice, you can observe a unique phenomenon when the shadow of the pyramids aligns perfectly with their edges, creating the effect of a double sunset. This astronomical alignment suggests the possible use of the pyramids as an observatory or for conducting calendar rituals. Faceless woman's skeleton. In Germany, archaeologists have discovered a mysterious 9th century burial. The man's remains were intact, but the wife's facial bones were missing and no burial items were found next to her. The excavation took place near Eisleben, at the site where the royal palace of Helfta once stood. The woman was 1.55 meters tall, but her skeleton had a defect. Her face was hollowed out. The man apparently held an important position. He may have been a high-ranking official or a military man, as indicated by the items found with him: a knife, a belt, and parts of an official staff. At the same time, no accessories were found with the woman, which was especially interesting to the researchers. Felix Berman from Saxony-Anhalt suggested that the woman might have been a Christian, while her husband still adhered to pagan traditions. This could explain the absence of burial items, as the Christian tradition rejected earthly ornaments after death. A real-life Indiana Jones discovery. Archaeologists made a surprising find beneath one of Jordan's largest tourist attractions. 12 completely preserved skeletons were found in a tomb beneath the famous structure in Petra known as the Treasury. This place became famous thanks to the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The Treasury, which is believed to be a mausoleum, was carved by the Nabateans about 2,000 years ago. Petra was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, and its magnificent human-made structures carved from pink stone still capture the imagination. This discovery will deepen our knowledge of the ancient Nabateans. Many other tombs in Petra contained only fragments of human remains, but in this tomb, 12 complete skeletons were found. This important find will allow us to study the rituals related to life and death of the Nabateans, as well as their way of life based on the analysis of teeth and bones. The preliminary dating of the tomb is from the 1st century BC to the 1st century AD at the height of the Nabatean kingdom, which was annexed by Rome in the year 106. In one of the skeletons, a ceramic vessel was found that resembles the famous cup from the Indiana Jones movie, which added extra intrigue to the discovery. Multi-component poison. In South Africa, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery in the Kruger Cave. They found a bone case about 7,500 years old, which contained remains of bone arrowheads and traces of a complex multi-component poison. Analysis showed that ancient hunters used powerful cardiotoxins, such as digitoxin and strophanthinidin, as well as ricinoleic acid, indicating the presence of ricin. These substances show the tribes had advanced knowledge of making poisons. Such mixtures were used for hunting large animals, protection from enemies, and in rituals to attract good luck. Poison making was painstaking, with preparation secrets carefully preserved and passed down through generations. Kruger's history, with inhabitants dating back 10,000 years, reveals new details about their daily life. This discovery highlights how adaptive knowledge helped people survive in harsh conditions and maintain balance with nature. The Baghdad Battery is a unique and truly mysterious archaeological artifact discovered in 1936 in the Kujut Rabu area near the ancient city of Ctesiphon in Iraq. It consists of 3 components: a ceramic vessel, a copper tube, and an iron rod. The find dates back to the Parthian or Sassanid Empire, approximately from 150 BC to 650 AD. Its purpose still remains a mystery. The most intriguing hypothesis was put forward by Wilhelm König, the director of the National Museum of Iraq in the 1930s. He suggested that these artifacts could have functioned as an ancient galvanic cell, a kind of prototype battery. According to this theory, acid or alkali, such as wine vinegar, could be poured into the vessel, which would cause an electric current to arise between the copper and the iron. Keough suggested that such a device could have been used for galvanic plating of metals or even for electrotherapy. However, this theory remains controversial, as there is no direct evidence of the Baghdad battery being used for such purposes. An alternative version suggests that the artifact could have simply been a container for storing sacred scrolls or other items and is not related to electricity. So far, archaeologists and historians have not been able to accurately explain the use of the Baghdad battery. Perhaps this mystery will be solved in the future. The frog battle. Frogs usually do not cause fear or anxiety in most people. But in the small town of Windham, Connecticut, these creatures have taken a special place in history and culture. Today, frogs decorate the logos of local businesses, the city seal, and even 4 bronze figures on the frog bridge. The reason for this affection was a curious incident that happened in June 1754. At that time, Windham was a tiny village on the border of Connecticut. The residents lived in constant anxiety because of rumors about an Indian attack. One dark night, the settlers woke up to an incredible noise. The sound seemed like drums or war cries. Some insisted it was the trumpets of Judgment Day. The confused men armed themselves and ran out into the darkness. The panic was intensified by stories of vibrating beds and ominous whispers. At dawn, they discovered the noise wasn't a Native American attack, but a skirmish of 100 bullfrogs fighting over the last drops of water in a drying pond. The drought had depleted all available water sources, and the frogs were fighting for their survival. The noise from this battle was so loud that it frightened the entire village. Rumors about the incident spread throughout Connecticut, and the residents of Windham became the subject of ridicule. However, instead of keeping the story quiet, the townspeople turned it into a symbol of their identity. The pond was renamed Frog Pond, and frogs adorned the official city seal. Subsequently, Windham became proud of this curious episode, creating songs, poems, and even banknotes featuring images of frogs. Some researchers suggested that the frogs might have been attracting females in this way due to stress caused by shrinking territory. Others doubt that the fight for water was the only reason for the noise. There was still enough water in the pond, and no traces of a battle between the frogs were found. Today, the Frog Bridge, with its bronze amphibians, serves as a reminder of the event that turned a modest town into a legend. The story of the Windham Frogs remains a vivid example of how an unusual incident can become part of cultural heritage and a symbol of pride for generations of residents. The Rosetta Stone, one of the greatest archaeological discoveries, which revealed to the world the key to deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, is the Rosetta Stone. It was discovered by Officer Pierre-François Bouchard in July 1799 during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt. The stone immediately attracted attention thanks to its unique trilingual inscription. This granodiorite block contained a decree dated to 196 BC during the reign of King Ptolemy III the Epiphanes. The inscription was made in 3 languages: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs at the top, Demotic script, which was the simplified writing popular at that time, in the middle, and ancient Greek at the bottom. The uniqueness of the stone was that the Greek text was the key to deciphering the other 2. The French scholar Jean-François Champollion completed the deciphering process in 1822, which became a revolutionary breakthrough in Egyptology. The Rosetta Stone made it possible to understand ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and history, which had previously been hidden behind unreadable hieroglyphs. Although this is one of the most important discoveries in the history of archaeology, even more significant archaeological discoveries await you ahead. Ancient inscriptions of the pharaohs in the Nile. In the murky waters of the Nile in Egypt, archaeologists studied algae-covered rock formations. At first glance, the stones seemed unremarkable, but upon closer examination, scientists discovered several inscriptions related to ancient pharaohs. A joint team of Egyptian and French archaeologists decided to study the ruins of the reservoir in Aswan. Under a layer of algae, they found several carved images that are at least 2,300 years old. The images ranged from drawings of ancient Egyptian pharaohs to hieroglyphs. In the photo, you can see several well-preserved carved figures. The shapes are blurred by water and are quite difficult to distinguish. One set of inscriptions looks like a row of mannequin heads above two objects resembling tombstones. These ancient inscriptions are still being studied. Archaeologists believe that these findings may help us better understand how ancient kings ruled in those distant times. The oldest alphabet in the world. In Syria, archaeologists have found the oldest alphabet in the world, which is more than 4,000 years old. This unique discovery was made in the tomb of el-Mara, one of the oldest cities in the Middle East. Clay cylinders engraved with symbols date back to 2400 BC, making them about 500 years older than all known alphabets. According to researchers, the inscriptions on the cylinders were probably used as labels to indicate the contents of the vessels, their owners, or their origin. Although these symbols have not yet been deciphered, radiocarbon analysis has confirmed their age, dating back to the early Bronze Age. Previously, it was believed that the alphabet originated around 1900 BC in Egypt or its surroundings. But these discoveries force us to rewrite history. The alphabet became a revolution in writing, making it accessible to people beyond the royal nobility. It changed not only the ways of communication, but also thinking, interaction between people, and the transmission of knowledge. The discovery was the result of 16 years of excavations by an international team of scientists. In addition to the cylinders, skeletons, gold and silver jewelry, a spearhead, ceramics, and utensils were found in the tomb. These discoveries show how ancient cultures developed writing, forming the foundations of modern languages. An ancient depiction of psychoactive mushrooms. The Tassili Najar Cave, located in the southeastern part of Algeria, is a true treasure trove of prehistoric art. This site is known for its rich rock paintings that span thousands of years. One painting draws particular attention, created about 9,000 years ago, depicting a shaman with psychedelic mushrooms. This unique artifact opens a window into the spiritual and cultural practices of ancient hunter-gatherers. This painting was first documented by the French archaeologist Henri Latham and his team in the 1950s. They were amazed by the brightness and complexity of the images, among which stood out the figure of a shaman with mushrooms of the psilocybe genus, known for their psychoactive properties. The shaman is depicted with a richly decorated headdress and war paint, indicating his ritual role. The posture and facial expression of the shaman clearly demonstrate a state of trance. Psychedelic mushrooms played an important role in shamanic rituals, as confirmed by numerous examples from various cultures. In ancient societies, shamans used mushrooms to achieve altered states of consciousness and communicate with the spirit world. The paintings in the Tassili Cave indicate that similar statues existed in North Africa as well. The image of a shaman surrounded by mushrooms and other symbols carries a deep meaning. The headdress and body paint emphasize the high status of the shaman in society, while the mushrooms highlight their sacred role in rituals. The trance state indicates the shaman's journey beyond the physical world, which was an important part of their spiritual practice. Rapa Nui statues. Easter Island, located in the southeastern part of the Pacific Ocean at the edge of the Polynesian Triangle, became home to nearly 1,000 monumental statues created by the ancient Rapa Nui people. The Moai figures were carved from volcanic tuff in the Rano Raraku quarry, and many of them remain there to this day. However, a significant number of the statues were transported and installed on special stone platforms called ahu along the island's coastline. The Moai are notable for their disproportionately large heads, which make up about a third of the statue's total height. These monuments, which lack legs, range in height from 2 to 10 meters, although the largest unfinished statue remains in the quarry and reaches 21 meters. The Moai were considered embodiments of ancestral spirits and played an important role in the ritual life of the Rapa Nui people. It is still unclear exactly how the ancient inhabitants of the island moved these giant sculptures across the rugged terrain. There are hypotheses that they used ropes and ingenious techniques to move the statues to their installation sites with a walking motion. The Moai turned to face the villages, probably symbolized the protection and strength of the ancestors watching over their descendants. Hidden essence. This unique clay figure, belonging to the Maya culture, was found in the Piton region of Guatemala and dates back to the Classic period. The depicted person is sitting in a pose of deep contemplation or a ritual gesture with open palms, symbolizing an offering or an appeal to the gods. He is wearing a mask on his head, which brings to mind modern helmets or even spacesuits, making this artifact the subject of much speculation. The mask could have symbolized a connection with the otherworld or served as part of a ceremonial costume intended to imitate gods or spirits. However, in its unusual features, some researchers see references to contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Maya legends often mention celestial beings who brought knowledge from other worlds, and such iconography could be a symbolic representation of these traditions. The figure also features decorations such as a massive medallion and bracelets, indicating the high status of the person depicted. It is possible that this was a figure of a priest or shaman performing an important ritual role. A lost fragment of a Bible translation Austrian scholars made a remarkable discovery in the Vatican Library, a new chapter of the Bible in a translation of the Gospel of Matthew. Dated to the year 1750, the text, invisible to the naked eye, was discovered thanks to the use of ultraviolet photography. This became part of a research project aimed at restoring texts that were erased or rewritten by scribes between the 4th and 12th centuries AD. Manuscripts of this kind, called palimpsests, were created by reusing already used material. This was due to the shortage of writing materials. With the help of ultraviolet light, it was possible to reveal the lost texts. Among the 74 restored manuscripts, there was one especially valuable ancient version of the Bible, which is 100 years older than the earliest Greek translations, including Codex Sinaiticus. The new text adds to the well-known verse about how Jesus' disciples plucked the ears of grain and adds they rubbed them in their hands and ate. This discovery is an important contribution to the understanding of ancient Syriac texts and the study of ancient writing. The Sea of Galilee boat, also known as Jesus' boat, is an ancient fishing vessel dating back to the 1st century AD. This unique artifact was discovered in 1986 on the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee in Israel, when the water level dropped significantly due to drought. The boat is 8.2 meters long, 2.3 meters wide, and has a preserved height of 1.3 meters, making it a typical vessel used for fishing and possibly for transporting people and goods across the Sea of Galilee in ancient times. Despite its nickname, the Jesus boat, there is no direct evidence that this boat was connected to Jesus Christ or his disciples. Nevertheless, the discovery has significant historical and cultural importance, as it dates back to the period when, according to the Gospels, Jesus and his disciples preached around the Sea of Galilee. The boat could have belonged to local fishermen, and similar vessels were used for everyday life in those times. The vessel was built from different types of wood, which indicates that it was repeatedly repaired in an effort to keep it seaworthy. This is one of the rarest archaeological finds, allowing us to glimpse into the life and everyday activities of ancient people who lived on the shores of the Sea of Galilee during the early Christian era. Frozen beauty. The funerary mask of a young woman created by an unknown master of the Liao dynasty from 907 to 1125 demonstrates the highest level of metalworking skill of that time. Made of gilded bronze, this mask embodies an image of serenity and refined elegance. The Liao, who ruled in the northern part of China, were known for their innovations in craftsmanship, including adapting Chinese techniques into their own unique styles. This mask likely served as an important talisman, protecting the soul of the deceased woman on her journey to the afterlife. You can see delicate features in it, reflecting a portrait-like resemblance to the deceased, which makes it stand out among other cultural artifacts of that time. A special fastening under the chin, designed to be secured beneath silk clothing, suggests that the mask not only had aesthetic value, but also served practical purposes in burial rituals. Mystics suggest that such masks could carry information or energy that connects descendants with their ancestors. Some researchers claim that the distinctive style of rounded features may have been inspired by certain extraterrestrial visitors, especially considering the symbolism and sacred customs of the Liao. Egyptian sarcophagus and Simpsony. Archaeologists in an Egyptian tomb discovered something unique: a 3,500-year-old sarcophagus with an image of Marge Simpson from the popular modern animated series. On the lid of the sarcophagus, there is an image of a woman with yellow skin in a green dress and a blue crown, resembling Marge's famous hairstyle. But in reality, the sarcophagus dates back to the New Kingdom and depicts the goddess Nut. The tomb belonged to a 16-year-old girl whose parents probably didn't have much money. However, they did their best to give their daughter a proper burial. As for such a coincidence, there are two options. Either the Egyptians predicted The Simpsons, or the creator of the series, Matt Groening, has secret knowledge about ancient cultures. Amulets, jewelry, and stone and wooden sarcophagi were also found in the tomb. Sarcophagi from the New Kingdom were often decorated with carvings and paintings depicting the deceased, deities, and scenes from the Book of the Dead. And what do you think? Why did the coincidence turn out to be so realistic? Write your opinion in the comments. The archaeologist disappeared. At the beginning of the 20th century, British archaeologist Archibald Bell was working in Egypt, studying the pyramids of Giza. In 1925, he suddenly disappeared right at the excavation site. The team searched for his traces for a long time, but without success. According to rumors, Bell went to explore a previously unknown tunnel inside the Khufu pyramid, but never returned. A few weeks later, Egyptian workers accidentally stumbled upon a small hidden passage in one of the pyramid's corridors. There, they found Bell's body with a notebook in his hand. As it turned out from his notes, he had entered an unknown room that had been locked for millennia, but the entrance became blocked by stones, and the archaeologist was trapped. His notes contained a description of unusual artifacts that were never found again, a stone staff and unknown inscriptions. This story gave rise to many rumors about Pharaoh's curses that supposedly befall those who disturb the rest of the ancient inhabitants. Although some facts were confirmed, many details still remain a mystery. The treasure is older than the Iron Age. Researchers have finally uncovered the mystery of two unusual artifacts from the golden treasure hoard of Valina. A pair of ornaments of partially extraterrestrial origin was found in the treasures of the Iberian Bronze Age. The dull bracelets and a rusty hollow hemisphere decorated with gold turned out to be forged from metal that fell from the sky as a meteorite. The discovery was made by Salvador Rovi Lorenz, the former head of the conservation department at the National Archaeological Museum of Spain. His work showed that the technologies and metalworking methods in Iberia 3,000 years ago were more advanced than previously thought. The Velen treasure hoard includes 66 items discovered in 1963 in what is now Alicante. These ornaments are considered a striking example of Bronze Age jewelry craftsmanship on the Iberian Peninsula and in Europe. Two ornaments, a small hemisphere and a bracelet shaped like a torque, have elements that archaeologists have identified as iron. This created a problem since the Iron Age on the Iberian Peninsula began around 850 BC, while the gold ornaments are dated to the period between 1500 and 1200 BC. The difference between meteoritic and terrestrial iron lies in the high nickel content of meteoritic iron. Despite the rust, the results of the study showed that the hemisphere and the bracelet were made of meteoritic iron, dated to around 1400 to 1200 BC. Meat mummification. Many have heard of King Tutankhamun, but few know that he was buried with 48 boxes of beef and poultry. To provide the pharaoh with food in the afterlife, his burial preparations included food supplies. A new study by archaeologists reveals interesting burial customs of ancient Egypt. It turns out that the meat buried with the pharaohs was mummified by treating it with special balms for preservation. This meat, known as meat mummies, was common in Egyptian burials, with the oldest samples dating back thousands of years, and the earliest being 1,600 years ago. The latest study included the analysis of 4 samples of meat mummies dated between 1,386 and 948 BC, which were found in the tombs of high-ranking individuals. Among the meat delicacies were cattle ribs, veal, and goat meat. Scientists conducted a chemical analysis of the meat and the wrappings used to cover it. They discovered that animal fat was used to coat the wrappings of the goat and the calf, indicating its use as a preservative. However, the cattle ribs contain traces of a complex balm made from fat or oil and resin from the pistachio tree, which was a luxury in ancient Egypt. About 600 years after it was used in meat mummification, this balm began to be used for human mummies as well. Giant fishing canals. Archaeologists made a sensational discovery. In Belize, in what is now the Crooked Tree Reserve, 4,000-year-old fishing canals created by the predecessors of the Maya civilization have been discovered. Using drone data and Google Earth images, researchers identified a complex network of earthen canals stretching for several kilometers through marshy areas. These unique zigzag-shaped canals indicate that people were already actively modifying the landscape at that time. Around the canals, archaeologists found jagged arrowheads that were probably used for catching fish, such as catfish, as well as reservoirs for storing the catch. It is believed that the canals were built about 4,000 years ago by semi-sedentary peoples on the coast of Yucatan and were used for more than 1,000 years. This coincides with the formative period, when the Maya began to transition to settled agriculture and the formation of their unique culture. Major landscape changes, such as these canals, preceded the construction of the great Maya temples, roads, and pyramids, becoming the foundation of their cultural development. These canals not only provided food but also contributed to population growth and dietary diversity. Archaeologists believe that the knowledge and experience of these early peoples played an important role in the emergence of the great Maya civilization, connecting it with more ancient traditions. A new giant pyramid. In Indonesia, a giant underground pyramid called Gunung Gunung Padang has been discovered, which is older than Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza. This place, shrouded in mystery and considered sacred by the local people of the island of West Java, is known as Punden Berundak, a stepped terraced structure. Archaeological work has only just begun, but it has already shown that Gunung Gunung Padang may be the oldest pyramidal structure in the world, built on top of an extinct volcano before the advent of agriculture. The latest research suggests that there may be chambers full of the unknown inside the hill. The name Mountain of Enlightenment emphasizes that an ancient civilization may have turned the volcanic hill into the foundation for a pyramid many millennia ago. Radiocarbon dating shows that construction began around the last ice age, making it over 16,000 years old, and possibly even 27,000 years ago, which puts it in the same age range as Göbekli Tepe. Between 2011 and 2015, a group of specialists conducted a comprehensive analysis using drilling and seismic surveys. They determined that Gunung Gunung Padang was built in several stages. Using the interior of the hill, scientists discovered signs of hidden chambers, some of which reach 15 meters in length and 10 meters in height, confirming the uniqueness and mystery of this ancient structure. Who left this trace? In Morocco, archaeologists discovered 85 ancient human footprints, dated to about 90,300 years ago. These are the oldest footprints in North Africa and some of the oldest traces of Homo sapiens. The discovery was made near the port city of La Larage in northwestern Morocco. Researchers found footprints ranging from 12.7 to 30 centimeters in length on an area of about 2,800 square meters. These footprints indicate that they were left by people ranging in height from 121 to 189 centimeters, most of whom were taller than 140. The footprints belong to at least 5 individuals, 2 children, a teenager or young person, and 2 adults. One of the adults was likely a man. To determine the age of the prints, the method of optically stimulated luminescence was used. South America. The people of South America believe in the existence of UFOs for several reasons. First of all, in these countries, cultural heritage and traditions play an important role in society. In Peru and Bolivia, for example, ancient civilizations such as the Incas left behind many legends and artifacts that can be interpreted as evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. Local legends and myths often contain references to celestial beings in public events, which makes people more receptive to the idea of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. It is important to note that some archaeological discoveries and historical structures, such as the Nazca lines in Peru, also contribute to the emergence of such interpretations. Ancient petroglyphs and rock paintings discovered in various regions depict strange figures and objects that resemble modern UFOs. This evidence complements cultural traditions and increases belief in the possibility of such contacts. In Brazil and Uruguay, numerous sightings of extraterrestrial objects have been recorded even today. One of the well-known cases is the incident in Orginha, Brazil, in 1996, when local residents claimed to have seen a strange creature after a UFO crash. In Uruguay, both military and civilian witnesses have also repeatedly reported unidentified flying objects, which led to the creation of official research groups. Local residents and authorities in South America respond to reports of UFOs with great interest. Research in this region has a significant impact on the global UFO community. The ruins of the most ancient civilization underwater. Into the ruins of the most ancient civilization underwater. In the 2000s, a team of researchers led by the Canadian company Advanced Digital Communications made a sensational discovery off the coast of Cuba. At a depth of about 600 to 750 meters on the ocean floor, strange structures resembling stone buildings were discovered. These structures looked like organized rows of giant stone blocks, some of which had a regular rectangular shape and resembled massive walls or pyramid-like buildings. The initial results of underwater research conducted using modern sonar led to the hypothesis of a possible sunken city that may have been swallowed by the ocean tens of thousands of years ago. According to some estimates, the age of these ruins may exceed 50,000 years, which is significantly older than the earliest known civilizations, such as Sumer and ancient Egypt. This makes the possible discovery even more intriguing, as it suggests the existence of ancient and possibly highly developed cultures that science knows nothing about yet. Some scientists believe that these ruins may represent the remains of an ancient city built before the last ice age, when the sea level was significantly lower. There is a hypothesis that this area could have been inhabited by ancient peoples who later had to leave their homes due to the rising sea level. This hypothesis is supported by proponents of the theory about the existence of ancient sunken continents, such as Atlantis, described in the works of Plato. Some geologists suggest that these formations may be the result of natural geological processes, such as erosion, earthquakes, and other movements of the Earth's crust. Further research and analysis of the underwater ruins off the coast of Cuba require significant resources and time. Let's hope that the authorities will find the means to study these ancient ruins. Who caused the Dublin fire? On June 18, 1875, one of the most unusual fires in history occurred on Chambers Street in Dublin. The fire started at the warehouse of Lawrence Melun, where more than 1 million liters of whiskey and other spirits were stored. The cause of the fire remained a mystery, but its consequences were both tragic and at the same time curious. When the fire reached 5,000 wooden barrels of alcohol, they began to explode, releasing a stream of burning spirits into the streets. The narrow alleys of the Liberties district turned into rivers of fiery whiskey up to 2 meters wide and stretching for 400 meters. The pigs in the next pen raised the alarm first. Their squeals woke residents and helped many escape. Crowds of people ran out into the street and started collecting the alcohol in any suitable container. Pots, hats, and some even scooped it up with their hands. No one thought that the whiskey was undiluted and extremely strong. The result turned out to be tragic. 13 people died not from fire or suffocation, but from alcohol poisoning. The firefighters faced an unusual problem. They couldn't use water because alcohol is lighter than water, and the fire would only get stronger. In the end, they managed to put out the flames using sand, gravel, and horse manure. This method turned out to be effective. The liquid was absorbed and the flames gradually died down. The fire in Dublin became legendary. In 2014, to commemorate this event, a craft whiskey called Blazing Pig was released, named in honor of the pigs who were the first to warn the townspeople of the danger. This story remains a reminder of human carelessness and the unusual ways of fighting fire, as well as an example of how even a tragedy can leave a mark on culture and traditions. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Goodbye, everyone.